On May 29, Days of Our Lives puts grief under a microscope. Salem, USA. There are anniversaries that demand cake and celebration, and then there are those that demand nothing but silence and a steadying hand. On Friday, May 29, Days of Our Lives will bravely step into the latter category, delivering an episode that trades campy villain monologues for something far more terrifying: the raw, unscripted landscape of prolonged grief. It has been exactly 1 year since the death of John Black, the iconic hero played by the late Drake Hogestyn. While the show has moved forward with new romances and resurrected corpses, as soaps do, the May 29th episode presses pause on the fantastic to honor the factual. A widow marking 365 days without the love of her life. Marlena's solitary milestone. The emotional anchor of the hour is Dr. Marlena Evans, Deidre Hall. Since John's passing, Marlena has thrown herself into work, into grandchildren, and into being the town's unshakable psychiatrist. But a 1-year deathiversary is a cruel trick of the calendar. It is too long for the acute agony of fresh loss, yet too short to have healed. Spoilers indicate Marlena begins the day alone, likely in the townhouse she once shared with John. Expect no dramatic breakdown. Hall has long excelled at the quiet devastation of a woman who has survived possession, brainwashing, and serial killers, only to be undone by an empty coffee mug. The writers are reportedly using this episode to contrast Marlena's clinical expertise with her personal helplessness. She knows the stages of grief by heart, she just cannot force herself to complete them. The Black children's burden. While Marlena steadies herself, her stepchildren, though she has always called them her own, are grappling with a secondary layer of sorrow. Brady Black, Eric Martsolf, and Belle Black, Martha Madison, are not just mourning their father. They are mourning the role reversal that grief demands. On May 29, they arrive at the townhouse intending to support Marlena, only to discover something that will shatter their composure. Spoilers tease a discovery that neither is prepared for. Given John's espionage-laced history with the Issa and the Damaras, the find could be tangible: a hidden letter, an unresolved mission file, or an unopened birthday gift he never got to give. But more poignantly, the discovery may be psychological. Brady and Belle might realize that their mother has been silently drowning while they assumed she was swimming. The episode's conflict reportedly arises from a painful question: do they tell Marlena what they found, or do they protect her from one last secret? This is where Days excels. Belle, the logical lawyer, will likely argue for transparency. Brady, the recovering addict who understands the fragility of coping mechanisms, may argue for burning the evidence. The tension between honoring a dead man's wishes and protecting a living woman's sanity is the kind of mature drama that soap operas, at their best, deliver without irony. Julie's unlikely new chapter parallel to the Black family's somber remembrance. A quieter but no less significant story is unfolding across Salem. Julie Williams, Susan Seaforth Hayes, is still navigating life after Doug Williams, the late Bill Hayes. While no one would dare suggest Doug is replaceable, Julie has always been a woman of passionate appetites, for life, for argument, and for companionship. Earlier this week, Julie was seen confiding in Holly Jonas, Ashley Puzimus, about a past lover, reminding younger viewers that Julie's romantic history did not begin and end with Doug. This narrative breadcrumb leads directly to May 29, when a gentleman named Foster, Miles Anderson, asks Julie out to dinner. Let's be clear. Foster is not angling for a discount on used paperbacks. When a man of a certain age asks a woman of Julie's stature to dinner, to talk, the subtext is louder than a Horton family argument on Christmas Eve. The spoilers wisely note that Foster likely has romantic intentions, but the more interesting question is, what does Julie want? Susan Seaforth Hayes brings a lifetime of soap royalty to this role. Watching her weigh loyalty to Doug's memory against the simple human need for a pleasant evening out as appointment viewing. Does she accept out of loneliness, out of defiance, or because Doug himself once told her to live fully after he was gone? The episode promises to handle this subplot with a light touch. No one is walking down the aisle yet, but it plants a flag for the future. Holly's self-absorption as survival. Finally, the episode circles back to the younger generation, where Holly Jonas continues her controversial walk through grief's less honorable stages. Having skipped Sophia's, Rachel Boyd, memorial service to sit in Horton Square with Julie. Holly is now seeking validation from Sarah Horton, Lindsay Godfrey. Holly's logic is brutally honest. She feels she is just as much a victim as the deceased Sophia, only she isn't getting the attention. On paper, this sounds monstrous. In reality, it is one of the most accurate depictions of complicated grief the show has ever attempted. Holly is not a sociopath. She is a teenager who made a terrible mistake that led to a classmate's death. Her need to be seen as, still the center of the story, is not narcissism, it is a survival mechanism. If she is not the victim, then she is the perpetrator, and that truth is too heavy to carry. Sarah, as a rational adult and a mother, is the perfect sounding board. She won't coddle Holly, but she won't condemn her either. Their conversation on May 29 serves as a generational counterpoint to Marlena's dignified mourning. Grief, the episode argues, is not noble. Sometimes it is ugly, selfish, and whiny, and that is still grief. In an era where many soap operas rely on amnesia and look-alike cousins, Days of Our Lives deserves credit for devoting a full episode to the mundane horror of anniversaries. There is no bomb in the town square on May 29. No demonic possession. No sudden return from the dead, that we know of. Instead, there is Marlena reaching for John's side of the bed, Brady and Belle deciding whether to keep a secret, Julie deciding if she is allowed to have dessert with a new man, and Holly deciding if she can forgive herself. The through line is simple. Time moves forward, but grief does not follow a calendar. The show honors John Black not by blowing up a building in his name, but by leaving an empty chair at the Brady pub. It is the bravest thing a soap can do. To sit in the silence and let the characters actually feel it. Tune into Days of Our Lives on Friday, May 29, for an episode that asks not, who done it, but rather, how do we go on? The answer, it turns out, is one painful, beautiful hour at a time.